This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, powered by eXp Realty. Online at madeformoreliving.com.
Have you ever wondered, like heard on the radio, cash offer for your home? How does that work? What do they do? Do they show up with a briefcase full of money? Like, is this legit? Well, today on the radio show, we have Mr. Shane Swanberg with Bridgehaven Homes, and he is going to peel back the curtain and let you peek behind and actually see what's really happening behind these cash offer deals. Welcome on the show, Shane.
Hey, Johnny. How's it going?
Doing good, man.
Yeah, I think that's an interest for anyone, whether it's a car or sometimes you go to some place and they say, hey, will you give me a discount if I give you all cash right now? There's just something appealing and exciting about an all cash offer.
Buyers do expect.
You go back to when you were a kid and you watch those cartoons when they show up with a gold briefcase with a dollar sign on it, you pop it open and it's just all of these stacks of $100 bills.
And that's what you have, right, Shane, in the back of your truck? You just got briefcases lined with cash?
Oh, absolutely.
He's just patrolling the neighborhood waiting for someone to take his offer.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good question, Shane, for you. Who do you typically work with? Like, what's your typical client profile?
Yeah, so most people, when they want to go sell a house, they hire a really good real estate agent like yourself.
Boom, thank you.
They list it on the market and they sell it and usually get top dollar and great service, and they sell it to a retail buyer. But what we do for people is sometimes people don't want to go that route, and there's a few reasons why they wouldn't. And what we do is offer an alternative solution so that they can just sell their house for cash, skip the normal traditional, marketing process, having a bunch of people through your house, having to make, repairs. Sometimes houses aren't in the greatest shape and they would require you to put some money into them before listing them.
Yeah.
If someone goes with a cash offer like what our company does, they can skip all of that and literally just sell it as is. Don't have to do anything.
No inspections or anything.
Yeah, I mean, you literally skip the entire process. So, normally when you sell to a traditional buyer, they're going to do a lot of inspections.
Sure.
They're going to rip that house apart. What we do with the houses once we buy them is we remodel them and then resell them, otherwise known as a flip. So we actually prefer the houses to have some issues and problems because that's where we can really add value and then turn it into a home for a new family down the road.
Yep, absolutely. And so we've actually done a few deals, transactions. We've worked together a number of times in the past. I was thinking specifically about the Marysville house. Now, this wasn't one that was like trashed, but that guy needed a quick turnaround. And so for those of you listening to the backstory, he came to me. I think it was like he booked an appointment Saturday night. I showed up.
This is the homeowner?
This is a homeowner. I showed up Sunday morning, and he's like, yeah, so I want to sell my house. I'm about to get foreclosed on. I was like, okay, like what's the process? And how far into this are you? And it was like going to the county courthouse steps in like less than a week. And so I called up Shane. I was like, dude, I called up a lot of people and I said, hey, how fast, how much can you offer? Shane and his company was the company that was able to get him the best deal on that home. We were able to push off the foreclosure a little bit, and he was able to, sell his house and have some money at the end of the day, whereas if he'd gone the other way, it wouldn't have happened.
So he had some equity in his home.
Very little.
Okay.
He had very little because he hadn't. I mean, the whole backstory was he had been caring for his parents, and that had taken a financial toll on him because he wasn't able to work, and they had both passed. And now he was, looking around and like, oh my gosh, I haven't paid my mortgage in like 18 months, and he was way behind. And so, but the moral of the story is Shane came to the rescue and saved the day, and we got it closed. And but that was just one example. Anything you want to add to that story?
Yeah, it was funny. I was with my son at a birthday party, and I get a text from you on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And I saw the text, and I immediately replied back like, yeah, I'll be home in an hour. Let me look at it. And I think we actually worked out the entire deal like that night.
Yep.
And I think you went back on Monday, got everything signed, and we were in escrow, and I think there was a date coming up where the bank was actually going to take the house, and we were able to close immediately on the property. Wow. It was a newer build too. Like, not every house that we buy is, a total fixer. This house was actually really nice. I think it was built like
18, 19, something around there.
Something like that.
Yeah. So
2018,
2019.
The year 1819.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
No.
This is a historic landmark here.
No. So, but that was just one example. what was the first deal? I think the first deal we did with you, what was it, 2019?
Yeah, 2019. It was in Del Paso Heights.
In the Heights.
Yep.
This house was blue. The guy had lived there, out in decades. He was a bus driver. And it looked like it was actually like leaning. Like the whole house was like leaning. So this is more kind of what you were talking about. You can go in and add some value.
It was old, a very old house. I think
old.
it was 1930s built.
Yep. And so I was like, you know what? Let's reach out. This Shane guy keeps blowing us up. He won't leave us alone. And so we gave him a shot and ended up getting more than what the buyer expected, the seller expected for the home. And then he ended up moving into, it was a super cool story because he ended up moving into a house in, I can't remember if it was Antelope or Citrus Heights, but all he wanted his entire life was to have a pool. And so he was able to not have to worry about fixing up the home, deal with showings. He had two large dogs, taking care of them. He was able to then move into his house in Citrus Heights with a pool. And Valerie remembered, because Valerie helped him buy the house, Valerie showed up and they had a bunch of Modelos and stuff, and all his buddies were hanging out and they were just lounging in the pool. And
That's
it was
cool.
like he finally was able to achieve ownership of a pool.
So what did you guys do with the home that you bought?
Yeah, so typically once we close on the purchase, so my wife's really into design, and those shows you see on TV
Sure.
about
Joanna Gaines?
Yeah, she's really good with design. So basically the way our process works is she goes to the property with one of our project managers on our team. They spend 3 or 4 hours like literally visioning what the house could be at its highest and best potential. And they write up a scope of work, and then from there, the project managers get contractors involved. They start remodeling the house, and then they turn it into something beautiful for a new family to move into.
And because it was built in the 30s, are there anything that you have to maintain and conserve in a property like that?
It depends on the location. There are some areas in downtown Sacramento that are like historic landmarks. In this area in Del Paso Heights, there's definitely not. So on the older homes, there are a few things that can be an issue, like foundation. You mentioned, Johnny, it was leaning.
Yeah.
It did have some foundation problems that we had to take care of. A lot of times on the older homes too, you'll find out it has like that old knob and tube wiring that's in those older houses, and older plumbing. So, the older the house is, the more things there could be.
And a lot of houses that are older don't have AC, and the end user is going to expect AC. So do you typically go in and add, central heating and air?
Yeah, buyers these days, especially here in the Valley, when we've had record temperatures over 100 and 110 degrees, everyone expects at any price point, a full HVAC system. So we always add that.
Yep. So that was that deal. What was your first ever deal? That was our first one together. Do you remember your first?
Yeah, I do remember my first. So I started the company in December of 2017. I'll never forget, because that was the month my son was born.
Wow.
And I started out.
So you had a son, and you're like, hey, this is easy. Why don't I start a company too?
No, there's more of a backstory to that. Actually, my wife's parents heard a radio ad about flipping houses in your local neighborhood.
Okay.
And they had ended up signing up for that. And then, long story short, they were able to bring my wife and I with us to that seminar. I had no real estate background. My wife didn't either. And we decided to go for it because we were young and we wanted to learn about real estate, and it sounded cool. So we went through that and ended up not actually getting into real estate at that time. My wife did become a licensed real estate agent at that time after going through that, but that was in 2012. It wasn't until 2017 when my son was born. My company that I was working for gave me 7 weeks off for dad leave, and I can't sit around for 7 weeks. So my wife was like, "Hey, let's go through the old curriculum and education program, and let's start a house flipping company." So it was actually her idea.
Wow.
And so you mentioned the first deal that I've ever done. I have a little bit of a banking background. I'd worked at a bank in the past. And my first deal, I was calling people that were behind on their mortgage payments. And this lady I had talked to on the phone, she's like, "Sure, come on over, see if you can help me out." She was actually upside down. So what that means is when you owe more on the house than it's actually worth. So we had to do a short sale in order to buy the house. So because of my banking background, I was able to put together a short sale package for the bank and submit everything in. We waited. They kept asking for more documents. And then finally they said, you know what? Your short sale package is declined. The house is going to auction tomorrow. And I was like, man, I really want to help this lady. We spent a lot of time together. She was kind of in a rough spot. So I had sold my first house I ever bought right before that and had cashed out some of that equity. So I literally showed up to the auction with my life savings in cashier's checks on the courthouse steps. I was pretty intimidated. There was a lot of very experienced auction buyers there. You know, they all had their headphones in. They were talking to someone, you know, and there's probably 15 other people there. And I was waiting for this house to come up on the auction block. And finally it came up and my palms got really sweaty and I was starting to shake a little bit. And they had the starting bid and I was kind of letting everyone else bid. I had never been to an auction before, so I had no clue like how to do it. I kind of just knew like what my number was going to be. So long story short, it got bid up and then I noticed they were like going once, going twice. And then I raised my card up and made my bid. And then as soon as I did that, the bidding stopped. No one else did it. And I'm like, oh crap, did I make a mistake?
Did I overpay?
Did you overpay?
Yeah. So long story short, going once, going twice, sold. I ended up buying it. I gave them my cashier's checks and they just gave me a piece of paper and I walked out of there and I'm like, this is crazy. Like I just gave my life savings away and I have a piece of paper and I don't even know how this works. But I drove to the lady's house. I knocked on the door and I said, hey, I got bad news and good news. Bad news is that the house sold and you no longer are the owner. But the good news is I was the one that bought it. So I told her, I said, hey, you know, now that I've actually been able to purchase the home, you can start looking for a new place to move to. I actually told her I would pay for her security deposit. She ended up finding a new rental. I gave her like 3 or 4 weeks. She ended up finding a new rental like within 5 days.
Nice.
I submitted the deposit on the rental for her. She moved into the new rental. And then I took possession and then we flipped it.
Wow. That's a crazy story.
That's a great story.
So you started.
Well done, buddy. Well done.
So you started it in 2017. That was December of 2017. You and your wife started reviewing all this. You met the person. You tried doing the short sale. Between December 2017 and when you took possession of the home, how long of a period of time was that?
We didn't close on that first deal, I think, until spring of 2018. So it did take a while. It was probably 4 to 5 months before that first deal.
Wow. That's awesome. So in your first year, how many, like your first 12-month period, how many deals did you do?
We did 7 deals in 2018.
Wow.
So right after
That's
that
cool.
first one happened, like the second and third hit. And then my dad leave was up and I was back to work, but they went all virtual at that point. So I was kind of,
oh my gosh,
you know,
it's all working out. There you go.
I know we're on the radio, but you know, I was kind of working both jobs, you know,
Yeah.
burning the candle at both ends. But they actually ended up removing the sales team completely from my company, and they ended up offering me a severance package, or I had to move to Texas. So It all worked out like it was supposed to. I took the severance package and then never looked back since.
Dude, very similar start to my start in real estate. I was burning the candle at both ends, and then there were layoffs, and then they were offering a severance package. And I technically wasn't going to get laid off, but I went to my boss and I said, hey, if me leaving is going to save somebody else's job, I'll take the severance and I'll walk away, because I was planning to leave in the next 6 to 12 months anyways. He came back to me, you know, a couple of days later. He's like, Johnny, this is whose job you're going to save. And so I was like, all right,
oh, isn't that cool?
Let's punch out. And so I punched out and used the severance package as part of the savings to move up here and start selling homes up here.
Love
and that guy is still with the company. He is still employed by the company.
Go. Win-win-win situation.
Yep.
Love that.
And when we come back, we will be talking about other cash buyers and how you should know, like how you can tell if a cash offer is right for you.
Going to keep it short here because it should be pretty obvious. When it comes to selling your home, you expect more, right? Well, get more with Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. They sell homes 27% faster, guys, than everyone else on the market, and for an average of 3% higher purchase price. So if you want more for your home, again, reach out to Johnny Jennings and the Tom Daves team with Made for More Realty, brokered by EXP. Just Google Made for More Realty today and get more for your home. License number 581837.